Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and today I have some information on Bill C-14. Now, for those of you who don't memorize each individual letter and number for these different bills, C-14 is the one that was introduced all the way back in November that was supposed to bring in some new updates that were first released with the fall economic update that was, again, released way back in November. And some of the main points that were inside of this bill that now has just officially passed, well, the main one is the Canada Child Benefit top-up of $1,200 over the course of the year. We're going to go into more details on that and who's going to start to see payments hitting their account from this change that's now looking like it's going to be past these final stages here. It also included information for students who are currently paying interest on their student loans. Well, that may be stopping rather soon, and it may actually go longer with a new bill that we're actually going to talk about, as well as a bump up to the amount that Canada as a country can spend, or like I like to think of it as a bump up to Canada's credit limit, right? They're going to be able to borrow an additional $600 billion. That's the upper limit now that Canada can spend. This is all stuff that's inside of Bill C-14, and in today's video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. But before we get into it, this video is brought to you by the course in the description down below. You can get 45% off with the coupon code INVEST. We talk all about how to earn more, how to save more, and how to put that all into investments to set yourself up for a strong financial future. But let's get into exactly what's happening here with Bill C-14. I'll flip over to here. And so this is a little bit of context. Now, this isn't fully up to date. I actually have more up-to-date information than the government website does right now. But you can see that it was tabled all the way back November 30th, 2020, and we've been updating here along the way. So as of right now, we know it's been through the House of Commons. They finished all of the readings in the House of Commons. And of course, once it's adopted in the House of Commons at third reading, then it goes to Senate. Now we are waiting on Senate for a little while. And Senate, they've finished their first reading, their second reading, no changes after they went to the committee phase. And now, as of today, I'm here to tell you that this page is wrong. Today, they actually passed this in its entirety. We'll check the Senate's Twitter. Apparently, they update Twitter before they do the official website on the Legisinfo website. But they first tweeted out that, hey, we're actually talking about it today, Bill C-14, and they do a summary here, the things I talked about, provisions from the economic statement divided into 7 parts. We've got the financial support for families with young children. Remember, that's going to be under 6. We'll talk about that more in a second, and as well as help for students and apprentices, among other measures. And then they also do make note of that increase of Canada's credit limit. So those are some of the main things inside of the bill. But then they, like right after that, said that the senators have voted, guys. The senators have voted. It's already been adopted. So they've adopted it at third reading, which means all that's left now is for it to receive royal assent, which should happen in the same day. So it looks like this is going to be officially passed as of today. Now, that could mean some different things for parents who are waiting to see whether or not they're going to start receiving this extra top-up money that they may have been expecting, especially if this was announced way back in November. People have been waiting on this for a while, hoping that they'd receive, oh, there goes my phone, hoping that they would receive some additional supports. But let's get into the actual text of the bill. So let's talk about the Canada Child Benefit portion of this bill, right? We saw that it's a $300 top-up, right? We can see this right here, a $300 per quarter, so every 3 months. And the 3 months that you need to determine if your child is underneath the age of 6 is each of these months: January 2021, April 2021, July 2021, and October 2021. So it looks like every single child that you have that meets that threshold and is younger than that age as of that date, well, it should be a $300 payment for that quarter, for that 3-month period, right? And the way this was actually designed originally, well, I think they were expecting this to get passed a lot earlier than it did. Remember, it kind of got held up in the House of Commons. The Conservatives weren't too happy about the increase in the borrowing limit that was included in this bill, and then the Liberals were criticized for the fact that they didn't pass some of the more immediate measures in a different bill and then put that sort of monetary debate on the side so that support could get out to the families who needed it. So that was a little bit controversial. But now, because it's so much later, well, you could expect to see some retroactive payments hitting your account. Remember, now we're all the way through January, February, March. That's the first quarter, and now we're into April. So if you don't already know this, the Canada Child Benefit is a monthly payment that's given out, well, monthly every single month, right? So what I'm expecting, and now we haven't actually heard from the CRA, but it could be likely that as of the time for your next Canada Child Benefit payment, well, you could be seeing an additional $300 or even an additional $600 to pay for the first quarter and the second quarter, right? And they can verify that you're eligible for this based on the information they already have on you. So that is likely how it will work. Again, the CRA hasn't put out any additional information, but it's likely that since they're past we're already into the second quarter of these four $300 payments, well, you could be receiving that in a lump sum per child. We have to think about, though, the CRA and how they're really struggling right now. A lot of problems going on with the CRA, long call times, so many people not able to transition over to different benefits. Diane LeBouthier, who's the Minister of National Revenue, the person in charge of the Canada Revenue Agency, well, she hasn't been answering a lot of the questions that people have been asking her in the House of Commons, so we'll have to wait and see if this actually gets doled out in a timely manner like some of us may expect, but here's hoping for the people who are looking for that support that they're going to receive it, well, at least relatively soon. The next important thing that's inside of this bill that was just passed today is the support for students. Now, this isn't support in the terms that they may have wanted to see some sort of benefit like the Canada Student Benefit that was sort of happening in parallel to the CERB way back when the CERB was the major benefit that many people were on due to the pandemic, but there is some support here for students. If you haven't already heard, they're going to be pausing the federal portion of student loans, the interest portion of that, right? So you will still have to keep on making your payments towards your student loans, but you won't have to pay interest. Essentially what the government said is, hey, right now isn't the time for us to be making bank off of these students who can't even get a job because Canada's jobs numbers are down right now. So they're saying, hey, we're going to pause this. And let me show you the details here. They're going to pause interest on student loans until March 31st, 2022. So that's the date that they've provided here in this bill. Now, this is interesting that now this is just finally being passed, and already with Bill C-30, that's the one that's implementing measures from the recent budget that was announced, well, they want to make another change to this. They actually want to bump this all the way up into 2023, so providing that this is going to be the case for even longer, so long as that Bill C-30 is able to make it through all of these steps. But again, we're going to have to be following that for quite a while, I'm guessing. If this is any indicator for how slowly bills get passed, well, then we could be waiting for quite some time. And to just provide a little bit of clarity, I need to emphasize this is only for the federal portion of student loans, right? When you have student loans, sometimes there's government student loans, but then also to pay for books and to pay for living expenses and to pay a little bit extra if you don't get enough from the government. Well, many people will opt to get student loans from big banks like BMO or CIBC or TD. They offer these student loan products. Now, this change won't affect those big bank student loans, right? It's only the federally funded student loans that they're going to be pausing the interest on. Some critics are saying, well, hey, you should just regulate the whole industry so that nobody's taking advantage, in some people's eyes, of students who can't make these payments right now. But this is just a distinction I need to make for you because this bill only pertains to that federal portion of student loans. Now, the last thing that's included inside of this bill that I think is of note for you that you might find interesting is that increase to Canada's spending limit. Now, there's no doubt that everyone knows right now there's been a ton of government spending since the beginning of the pandemic. And there are some major criticisms when it comes to where's this money coming from, what effect is printing all of this money going to have on our economy. A lot of people quite concerned with it, specifically some conservatives are especially concerned with it, right? As of right now, before this was just passed officially today, well, this limit was closer to $1.2 trillion, and now, well, it's bumped up to $1.831 trillion as the upper maximum limit that the government of Canada can spend. Now, this is super important, right? Because we just saw that new budget being released just a couple weeks ago, and this new bill that's actually going to implement some of the provisions inside of that budget. Oh my goodness, I am just so popular today. But as I was saying, this is so important because that budget is going to be implemented rather soon, and there's a whole bunch of more spending inside of that budget. So this was actually pretty important for the Liberals to get passed through the House of Commons and through the Senate so that they could actually implement the things they wanted to implement, all these changes, all this additional spending, some cuts to spending with the CRB program being rolled down, but a lot of additional spending in that budget, and they're actually going to be able to do that because of this bump up as a part of Bill C-14. So that's all that's inside of this bill. And now we can say that yes, it has officially passed. It passed the final stage of Senate. So all they need is one more signature and it becomes law. And there's rarely ever a time that they don't get that signature to get royal assent, right? This is how the legislative process works. There's a lot of ceremony and a lot of redundancy in how many times they have to look at it. But I'm just reporting and letting you know what exactly is going on here. So what do you think about all of this? Do you expect the CRA to be able to dole out this additional Canada Child benefit? Some people are against the top up to Canada Child benefit because they're saying, hey, how come it's only parents that get all the support? Meanwhile, I might not be eligible for other supports. There's lots of debate anytime one group gets some money and the other groups don't, right? Lots of questions there. What do you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section. I read every single one and I try to reply to as many comments as I possibly can. And while you're down there, make sure to check out the Canada Money Mastery course. With coupon code INVEST, you can get 45% off. We're constantly adding new content, and you're gonna, if you want to buy that program, well, you're gonna have access to it forever. We're adding things like how to rebuild your credit, how to invest in dividend stocks and ETFs, and what accounts are best for doing that. We're covering it all there inside of that course, and you have lifetime access. So if you're interested, make sure to check that out. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope this video has helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time. This channel is supported by viewers like you. Thanks, channel members.